Some players are either overrated or underrated, or the in between. Martin Odegaard has always been a player that generates a lot of extremities amongst both the Arsenal fans and the opposition fans, right? There are fans of Arsenal who rate him highly, who rate him as one of the best midfielders in the world. There are other fans who are like, no, he's not a big game player. He chokes in big games. He doesn't strike the fear into the opposition. He's not strong on the ball, etc. And there are also other fans who are like, it's all right. It's just all right. Remember when Arsenal loaned Martin to join us from Real Madrid? And there was Madison and this other guy from Norwich that joined Villa, Buendia, the number 10. As we all know, Martin has shown over the years that he's better than these guys. Maybe Madison, yeah, maybe you can still put Martin ahead of him. But it was so much uproar when Mikel Arteta insisted that this is the guy for me. But the truth is, Martin Odegaard has improved every season he's joined Arsenal. Every single season. From the loan spell. In the loan spell, he played about 20 games. He gave us about 4-5 really exceptional football matches. I remember Arsenal versus West Ham. I think we were 3-0 down and we got back to 3-3. Go watch that game again. That is one of the best midfield performances I've seen over the years from a midfielder. He was exceptional. That was his moment in an Arsenal shirt. But also, he's giving us some, what's going on here? Manchester City, home and away last season, it was practically non-existent. Chelsea, this last weekend, he wasn't at his very best. But this season, Martin Odegaard hasn't been at his effervescent best, at his absolute best, at his top form. We can look into the stats, as most people try to do, but also common sense would dictate that stripping yourself of 2/3 of your best midfielders from last season, there's going to take some adaptation to get back to your high level. What do I mean by that? Thomas Partey and Granit Xhaka were the two best midfielders, top 10 best midfielders in the Premier League last season, probably in Europe. Xhaka had the best midfield performance of his entire career. You should have been nominated for one of the best midfielders last season. The same thing could be said of Thomas Partey. He was finally fit. He was able to play 28, 30 games. He was able to string 3, 4, 5, 6 matches together. And at a point last season, Thomas Partey could be said to be the best central midfielder in the Premier League. At some point, between beginning of season till probably like February, he was exceptional. Exceptional in every sense of the word. Go watch Thomas Partey again. Go watch his games last season. The Tottenham, Liverpool, Manchester United, the Newcastle first leg, which I think we played 0-0. Thomas Partey was just out of this world. The same thing could be said of Granit Xhaka. What that means is the workload is shared, and Thomas Partey could be the metronome in midfield, controlling the game and allow Martin Odegaard to control the right-hand side, which is what we're seeing him play his best football. His combination between him, Bukayo Saka, and Benjamin White. But the midfield has been ripped up, partly because Mikel wanted to go a different way, and partly because Thomas Partey was not available and Granit Xhaka was sold. So we've had Havertz playing that role, we've had Fabio Vieira playing that role, and we've had Leandro Trossard playing that role in pre-season, which I thought was going to be a solution because I saw Leandro Trossard in some games. His ability to turn on his sixpence, move the ball, ambidextrous, and just gravitate his way through midfield. I thought it was going to be a second option for Mikel in that role. But we haven't been able to see much of that, partly because Trossard has been injured. Thomas Partey has been injured. We've seen Declan Rice in the 8 role. He's not particularly great at it. He will be good in maybe the games whereby we want to be on the back foot to defend, win the ball, and transition quickly. But in games whereby we're expected to take control of the games, I think Declan Rice doesn't know where exactly to be in our style of play, which was one of the greatest strengths of Granit Xhaka last season. He allows Zinchenko to float to the midfield, and he knows how to cover for Zinchenko defensively. Rice, on the other hand, hasn't particularly adjusted to the expectation of that role. Havertz couldn't adjust to the expectation of that role because off the ball, it was exceptional, but on the ball, we've seen nothing from Kai Havertz. Fabio Vieira, on the ball, very good. Off the ball, atrocious. So we keep trying to find a balance between all these players. We haven't been able to. These are the situation where you would expect your captain to come up with the goods and be good. But Odegaard hasn't been particularly good in some games this season. I think he's also been overflogged in the sense that he plays all our games and he runs a lot. Go check the stats, right? I don't think there's any midfielder that runs that much, that plays that role in the Premier League. Your marquee player, your best midfielder, running that much. When does he have the time to conserve some energy to do some things on the ball, right? He runs too much. He leads the press. He's the one that controls the press. He's the one that decides when we press. You can see him gesturing to the guys, making hand movements, starting the press like a center forward. Madison doesn't do that. Emiliano Buenda doesn't do that. Szoboszlai doesn't do that. Bruno Fernandes doesn't do that. This guy used to do that for a while, but he just like nobody does that. So maybe Mikel needs to look into the amount of runs and the amount of miles Martin Odegaard is carrying. And also there's a misconception of the kind of player he is. He is not a Bruno Fernandes. He is not a Manchester City's Kevin De Bruyne. He's a different kind of player. He's more like a Bernardo Silva. He wants to touch the ball, control the ball, making passes in between the lines, get the ball high up to the pitch, make the correct decisions in the final third. Now we've put the burden on him to create more chances. But he's just not that guy. The players who create chances in our team is Bukayo Saka and Martinelli. But we haven't seen a lot of chance creation from them. The same way with Gabriel Jesus. Gabriel Jesus create a lot of chances. There are players who can create their own chances, right? That's why Martin Odegaard was able to score 15 Premier League goals last season, non-penalty goals last season, because we have players who can create chances. We put our players in good moments, our wingers, one-on-one to create the space. That is how we play. So we progress the ball gradually through the midfield to the point whereby we try to isolate either Saka or Martinelli one-on-one with either a centre-back or a full-back. And they're going to create a chance. They're going to beat their man, 90% of the time. But we haven't been able to do that. So there's a lot of factors that need to be considered when we're criticizing one of our marquee players. The reason why we criticize is what we're trying to criticize constructively, to see what are the things that he needs to improve upon. He's done a lot of great things, but he can improve. He can get better. He's the captain, and he can show those leadership in those moments. He doesn't have to hide. He needs to ask for the ball more in those moments and help us to progress the ball through the midfield. That is why he's here. So that is just a little bit of what I think is going on with Martin. And we've also noticed that whenever he goes on international breaks and he comes back, I think it takes him a while to get going again. But those are things that he needs to improve upon mentally, because typically most teams, the captain is a mirror, the team is a mirror image of the captain, right? So if Martin Odegaard is not performing, can the team carry him through those moments? That is the question. And on Saturday, the team carried Martin Odegaard because he wasn't particularly good, which is a good sign. Hopefully, Mikel can talk to him and put him in position to control the midfield better. And we can see Thomas Partey finally come back and give us that ball progressing ability that he has. I hope we see a turnaround against Seville. We need to win that game. to cement our Champions League hopes. And progressively, I want to see better from Martin Odegaard because he's a player I hold in the highest regard. I hope we're able to get over this result and focus on the performance, right? Not just focus on the result. The result is great. In terms of the season, getting 1 point away at Stamford Bridge with this Chelsea that is looking rejuvenated, it's not the worst thing in the world. But let's focus on the performance and find out we can improve the performance. Find out how we can actually fix this left 8 issue. Do we want to try Trossard there? Maybe. I think he can do it. But that is the job of Mikel Arteta and his coaching staff to find solutions. Thank you so much for having me and being here and watching this video. Hopefully you're able to watch to the end. And goodbye. Stay blessed. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. Stay blessed.